as a prison, as a federal
It's called
prison.
a powerhouse.
That was eventually why they closed it down in 1963, was because of the expenses. Now you have to supply electricity for the entire island. Keep in mind that it was not just the cell house, but the guards lived here with their families. At least 60 families lived in the parade ground area. Lots of families. You have to burn bunker oil in order to supply electricity, bring in water. Water was pumped into that water tower 3 times a week. Most of the water was actually wasted because of laundry. They had to do laundry out here in the work area. We'll eventually check that out towards the end. And you also have the issue of sewage, raw sewage. Where would that go, right? Well, back in those days, raw sewage would go straight out into the bay.
Yeah.
That was a normal thing. Raw sewage out there and trash. They had an incinerator where they burned the trash, but that trash was pushed over the cliff and out into the bay. And that was just a normal thing. Now, in the 60s, there was an environmental movement to stop all of that. That meant that Alcatraz, as a federal prison, had to figure out a way to collect, transport, and treat the raw sewage and their trash somewhere else. That was another expense that they had to eventually acquire, so they closed down as a federal prison. Plus, the cells were not secured at that point because we're located in front of the Golden Gate Bridge. Now, on the other side of the Golden Gate, you have ocean water, which contains a lot of salt. The salty air hits the walls, on the concrete walls, and it does make the concrete much more brittle, much easier to dig a hole out of and escape. So it wasn't secured at that point as well. So a lot of reasons why they eventually closed it down. And you had that escape that happened in '62 where they made the holes in the back of their cells and got out of the cell house. So this island was just not a good prison at that point anymore. Now this tunnel was actually made by military prisoners. When this was a military prison, it was made between the point it was a military prison and a fortress. Now the reason why they made this tunnel was to allow soldiers access to the west. This is the east. If you have, for example, a Confederate ship coming in through the Golden Gate, you needed your soldiers out there because that's where you have the Golden Gate. That's where you have most of those cannons. So the best thing that they could do was a tunnel instead. Otherwise, they would have to go up the hill, over the hill, and then light up those cannons. But this tunnel was much better. Now, you'll notice that
it's a shortcut.
The interior of the tunnel has like concrete over it. It's called shotcrete. And the park did that to prevent it from collapsing. It looks very lumpy because it's all made out of sandstone. And that's what Alcatraz was made out of, just a lot of sandstone. The men had to make these tunnels while carrying a baby. Now, it's not literally a baby. They called it carrying a baby. It was a 24-pound cannonball that was chained to their ankle. And they had to do that and chip away and make this tunnel. So it required a lot of work. They did not have the machines that we have today to make tunnels. So we're going to go through this tunnel. Just watch your head because it does get narrow. When you get towards the end, please, no flash photography and no loud noises. We have birds nesting on the other side. There is a lot of lead paint, so don't lick the walls or anything like that, please. And don't cross the barricaded areas because the pipes have rusted, like this pipe right here. We don't want the pipes to fall on your head or anything like that, okay? So go on inside and we turn on the light. Creepy. Okay, there you go.
เป็นคนตีแบบไม่มีคน